I hope you'll give me a few minutes for one thing. I want to share with you one of the most salacious lies some success people will tell you and tell you how to fix it in just a few moments. Hey, this is Chris Vaughn. I have been studying success, reading books, life, trying to live it, trying to process it my entire life. I don't know about you, I just never have seen a reason to be a failure. And I want to walk in favor. I want to walk in God's favor and have that principle work in my life. The laws of sowing and reaping, the laws of harvest, just to have a good life. And years ago, I mean, this is back in the 80s, 90s, what we call the power tie, the red power tie, the suit. I went to, I bought this is back in cassette days, bought all the cassettes on success. And there's something you can't do, and you can't believe this lie. You can't have it all. That's just all there is to it in life. And by that, I mean you can't chase everything. I had a dream, I've always known that I would have a certain vocation in my life, and the gifts God has given me, I would use them in a certain way, and I have, and I try to steward that and honor that. But at the same time, I used to have this one kind of dream in the back of my head. I ain't gonna tell it. Almost too embarrassed now at this age. But I'm in my 20s. And it's when that genre got really big. And I'd think about it. I'd want to chase it. I got married at 22. Chose to. Didn't have to. Just point that out. Had our first daughter, me and Lisa, probably 3 years later. So didn't have to get married. Chose to. The Bible says that when a man finds a wife, he's found a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. I want favor. And I love my wife. But I'd had that dream, that thought. I could chase that. I mean, I can do it all. I can get it done. I'll work out enough time. I can carve this out. I can carve that out. But I realized one night I couldn't have everything I wanted and keep everything I love. Because the guys that I was enamored with, who were living that life, chasing those dreams, having their names in lights and all this stuff in my head I thought was, that I've been married multiple times, estranged from some of their children, divorced, affairs. And I remember reading the biographies, and I love biographies, I always have. And I'm reading these biographies about certain guys and certain business guys. And as I'm reading them, I remembered something my dad told me. He worked with a guy, I've always loved this name, Red. That was his nickname. And he worked at him, and my dad was the data, they called it data processing, so now they'd say he was the head IT guy. And my dad was over the IT data processing. He was over the department that did all the checks and payroll and taxes, and back with a huge mainframe computer that was the size of, it was like 1,000 square feet of space. It was so big. Got more power in a wristwatch now than a smartwatch than that thing did. And he said his boss looked at him one day and he said, Ray, he said, don't you ever confuse this. You can either be a great company man or you can be a great family man. He said, but you're never going to be both. Now see, the thing is not that you can't have both. The thing is you just got to choose what's important to you. And I'm really not. I'm not anti what I call people who just chase that dream to be, 100 million YouTube subscribers, largest company in the world. But you can't have it all. That's the lie. Everything's going to make you happy. But when you know the value set of what's valuable to you, and you set that priority, changes everything. Because you can't be a company man and a family man. You're either going to be a company man at the expense of your family, or you're going to be a family man at the expense of your company. Now, my dad, he looked at Red and he said, well, that's easy for me. I'm a family man. He said, I'm always going to have time for my wife. I'm always going to make time for my kids. And he did all his life. And somebody asked me one time, about certain things in life, my, churches and things I've done. And years ago, I had I got a mentor in my life I've had for years. And back in the day, when I was speaking in churches a lot, you do multi-day meetings. Well, most of mine I scheduled for weekends. I was gone usually 2, 3 days a week, but it was weekends. And I wasn't like him. He was gone, Saturday through Thursday. And it always bothered me that I wasn't as successful as him. But I had made up my mind when my kids were small, I'm going to be a dad that's around. I'm going to be here for my wife. I'm going to be here for my kids. That's important. That's my priority. Again, I'm not critical of the other. I'm just pointing out the fact you can't have both. You can't chase both. You'll never have favor in your life if you're in an angst trying to chase both. You'll be aggravated with the family because you're not at the company. You'll be aggravated with the company because you're not with the family. You got to figure it out. So you have to have that solidness of what you want, what you're going to chase, what's important. Until you figure that one out, it's hard. You'll believe the lie. And you'll waste money buying the books and buying everything because, you're going to do. I'm not saying don't buy the books. I'm not saying don't buy the courses. But I am saying you better determine exactly what you want. Because one day you will find out if that's what you wanted. And so going back, I made some choices. And that friend, I always felt like I was never as successful as he was. It always bothered me. If I was judging my life to somebody else, that's a foolish thing to do too. That's free. One day me and him were talking. Shocked me. He said, there's so much of my children's life I missed. He goes, I wish I had been more like you. I don't know if he saw me on the phone. I guess he didn't see me, I know, but I felt like he could see my jaw drop. He goes, I always admired how you didn't chase all that other. He said, you were there for your kids all during the week. I wouldn't trade that for nothing. I got 3 great kids. I got 2 great grandkids. And I will do that. You know why? Because my priority, a long time ago, is because of my dad. I chose to be a family man. So don't believe the lie. Now let me throw this out. There are sometimes I am gone because that's my job. And to provide for my family, that's part of it. But I don't do that to the exclusion of the other. You have to know what your priority is. That's my point. If you do not settle that priority, you will chase both and you'll never be happy. In fact, Jesus even said, he said, you can't chase God and mammon. You'll either love one, hate the other, or hate one, love the other. You can't do both. You have to choose. And until you choose, you will never walk in favor and you will live an angsty life, is what I like to call it. Always frustrated because you ain't got what you think you want. Somebody asked me one time, said, are you successful? I said, I believe I'm very successful. And they were like, and I knew what they wanted. What kind of watch you got? What kind of car you drive? I said, I've been married 37 years. I got 3 kids that love me and talk to me, buy me presents for Father's Day and birthdays and any other time. And I said, I got 2 grandkids that call me Papa and love me. I said, buddy, it can't get much better than that. Because I have met a few people who didn't have a dime and they were miserable. And I've met people who had money. I mean money. And they were miserable. So I challenge you, figure out your priorities. And if the mentors in your life do not produce what you want, you better find you another mentor. And I want to remind you, if you chase it long enough, you'll finally get it. And hopefully you're going to be happy with what you got. Because you only got one shot at this life. So make it count. It's because it's a great life. Hey, this is Chris Vaughn. Remember, you're anointed to win, empowered to prosper, and impossible to curse because you have the favor of God on you. And I'll see you next time.